Okay, so now I'm going to make, I'm sorry, the light's weird, but I changed cameras so I could make a better file size. I'm going to make the pizza dough, which is pretty much the same as the bread dough, the way you're going to do it, because you're going to be doing it by hand. Let me close this. So for this pizza dough, I need 450 grams, I think. 450 grams of flour. The recipe calls for 500 grams of flour, but you have to consider how much flour is in the starter. So there's 450. Okay. And then to this, I'm going to add all the starter. Okay, to this, I'm going to add all the starter. This is 150 grams of starter that I mixed this morning. And I'm going to get 330 grams of water. Again, the recipe calls for more than that, but you have to account for how much water is in the starter. And I find measuring is the best way to do this. Okay, I normally use my mixer to start the bread, but the pizza dough is made with 00 flour, and it's very, I don't want to say fragile, but delicate. So it needs, I'm using the mixer like I got you. And I want to try to get it as incorporated as possible. It won't be perfect, but it will be close. Now I'm going to spread some flour on my cutting board. Move these out of the way. I'm going to take this mess and put it on the cutting board, and I'll try to get as much off of here as I can. Okay, so what I try to do is I got this flour on the cutting board, and I scoop underneath it and then fold it over. Scoop underneath it and fold it over. What I'm trying to do is get as much of this covered with flour as I can. I see some on the bench knife. I'm just going to scrape off with this. And I'm going to fold it over. And this is the stretching and folding. And again, sorry for the lighting, but in my kitchen, and I'm using a different camera that gives me better quality, but it's more sensitive to light. It's not like the iPhone, which makes up for all the mistakes. So I'm going to add some flour to this. And what I do is I add flour on the top, and then I flip it over and fold it. What you don't want is dry flour in the middle of your dough. If you cook that and you get dry flour in your cooked bread, it's known as a chestnut, and it's not a great thing flavor-wise. So I'm going to keep folding. And you can tell when it needs a little more flour on top because it's sticky. Now, the dough should be tacky, but not sticky. So you'll feel a little bit of touchiness, I guess, but it shouldn't stick to your hands and come off. And what I do is I go around the cutting board and I pick up this loose flour. And now I can that's a little sticky. I'm going to flip it and fold and fold. Now with the pizza dough, unlike the bread dough, I don't want to be too vigorous. Like I said, this is made with 00 flour, which is what that means is it's very, very fine milled. And you can see, and there's some on my hands, but not too terribly much. Now you're going to do your bread the same way, except when you knead it like this, you're probably going to knead it for between 5 and 10 minutes. I'm not going to do the pizza dough that long because, like I said, it's more delicate, but you want to keep kneading it, stretching and folding. Use your bench knife. A little flour on top, flip it over, and then fold. Fold. Now this has no yeast in it except for the starter, which is the starter I made this morning, the pre-ferment. And what that did was it helped absorb all of the water into the flour that was in the pre-ferment. Okay, I'm going to wash my hands. Now I use these big containers. This will hold a single batch of bread or a couple of batches of pizza. But I don't make too much pizza because I got to cook them one at a time. So I'm going to take a little bit of olive oil and just kind of drip it in there because I want to add olive oil to the dough, but I don't want to add it in the mix. So what I do is if I put it in here, then as I fold in here, the olive oil incorporates and I get the flavor of the olive oil without too much olive oil. And I don't know if you can see this, but it kind of looks like a mess. And I just give it a little workout. Let me wash my hands again. And that's how you're going to make your dough. Okay, I'm going to put the top on, snap it, and you can see the measurements, maybe you can't see the measurements on the side. This is the 2-liter mark. You can see that's way down here. Okay, we'll look at it in the morning. I'm going to let this go for, let's see, it's 7:30. I'm going to let this go till probably tomorrow afternoon, maybe 2 o'clock. So what's that? That's almost 18 hours. Okay, and that's dough.